How is it possible that I could kill this philodendron by watering it too much and keeping it too wet, and yet I have the same plant that's growing in water? Let's talk about it. These are both philodendron Birkin. They're two identical plants except for the one thing. One is grown in soil and the other one, well, it's grown in water. And actually, there are quite a few houseplants that could be grown in either soil or water. Things like peace lilies and pothos and dracaena are all plants that can be grown in either soil or water. And if that's true, then why do we hear so much talk about overwatering and root rot when it comes to watering your plants too frequently? Well, there's actually two things that make a difference here. Number one is air, and number two are pathogens. So let's get down to the nitty gritty and talk about what actually is root rot. Root rot is actually a pathogen, usually a fungal pathogen such as Pythium or Fusarium. And these are organisms that actually start to decompose or break down the roots of your plant, causing them to rot. And that's what also gives it that bad smell that happens whenever you do have root rot. Why isn't this plant getting root rot? Well, there's a couple things that need to happen. One is you need to have a low oxygen environment or an anaerobic environment. That's why with plants that you are growing hydroponically or in water, it's important to change the water frequently, like on a weekly basis, or to inject oxygen or air into that water to keep it oxygenated. If the plant is in soil and you had it in a pot that did not have drain holes, that's when over time, if there's no drainage happening and this water stays stagnant inside the soil, it will actually go anaerobic and this will cause those pathogens to grow more quickly. The other thing to keep in mind is by doing water changes fairly frequently, you are lowering the total amount of pathogens that might be in this water. So you're starting with a cleaner environment and you can keep it clean by doing those water changes. Whereas in the soil, those fungal pathogens may already be there, just lying in wait for the conditions to be optimal where they could then attack your plants. So to combat root rot in a potted plant, you want to make sure that you have good drainage. So a pot that has drain holes. You want to make sure that your potting mix is very light and well draining. So that way it doesn't hold on to water for too long. And then you want to make sure that you are allowing your plant to dry out sufficiently in between watering. So that way you're not keeping it soggy wet all the time. So yes, root rot is a real thing. Watering too much is a real thing, and so is hydroponics. You just got to know a little bit about how these plants grow and how those pathogens work so that you can keep your plants healthy.